Thanks so much for the opportunity. I should have told Mike too that actually I have a family member in the Guinness Book of Records. Most number of watermelons are macheted on her stomach on a bed of nails. Actual fact. Yep. I'm the conservative throwback in my family, as you can probably tell. At one stage I did work for the Liberal Party and they were more embarrassed of me. So her career as a tattooed lady in a freak show circus was infinitely more entertaining to my family. So I'm also a Gen X with 2 alphas, so if I seem tired in the delivery, you'll know why. I can shed a lot of light if anyone's looking for some linguistic translations to understand the alphas. I'm all about it. I can explain the use of emojis, the slays, the cringes, of which I seem to be largely one of. So, and I was woken up on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. when my 7-year-old yelled header and then threw a soccer ball at my head. So just for context, that's what you're getting. No slides, just hopefully a little bit of entertainment from me. And hopefully it's important for us to lean in to the social impact and environmental impact part of the presentation as well as just infrastructure. I'd also just like to add my acknowledgement, Mani Nadlu Tapindi Nadlu Gana Yatanga Imperendi. The work that we're doing in reconciliation as RAA, our values are about being better for our members and better for the community. So I really wanted to just add my reflections and the opportunity that we've had and the support that we've had from the Ghana people to start to learn the language and to really kind of connect and be vulnerable and lean into that. And acknowledge the really meaningful connections that people have made to that today, particularly obviously hearing from Garth, Mayor Redmond, Minister Scriven, and also Andrew Morfitt last night. We do the same sort of thing with our acknowledgement and kind of connect with it and say why it's important to us. So from us, it's very much a part of our values, respect and education. What I'd like to talk about today is obviously 1 in 4 of our members are actually part of regional South Australia. So it is really important to us. I want to reflect a little bit on our history as an organisation and the way that we've supported regional communities and the development. And people tend to think about RAA probably as being fairly traditional, but actually really proud of our history of innovation. And I think in a way we're getting back to our roots in that space as well. Infrastructure is critical, so we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in that space, but also the role that we think we can play in supporting you with your growth objectives as well. So we're really going to focus a little bit on the infrastructure investment that we're making commercially, but really talk to the social, environmental and economic sustainability and vibrancy that we want to help unlock in this state that we're also proud of. So RAA has actually been around for 120 years. We're the largest member organisation in South Australia, 805,000 members. I should do something cringy, as my daughter would say. Hands up if you're an RAA member. Fabulous. God bless you all. Thank you for coming today. And we take our role as advocacy really serious, not just about the great services that we provide, and that we're one of the most trusted brands in South Australia, and we know that when it comes to issues of road safety, we're actually more trusted than the police when it comes to offering comment in that space. So that is a role we take really seriously and certainly don't take it for granted. We connect with more than 70% of households in South Australia, and as I said, not just through our motor insurance, travel, home policies, but we're really moving into that energy space, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. So 25% of our households are in country areas, and so having not just road safety, but what we can do to support that transition to a low carbon economy as well and support our population growth is really important. As I said, innovation's very much at our heart. We like to think that we helped solve range anxiety the first time around 100 years ago, and so part of our role was helping open up the state. And we did that through delivering fuel to regional communities, to hotels, to help make sure that people could travel and see the state. So I think it's really fitting that we're solving range anxiety a second time around now with the investment in the EV charging network. So we've actually partnered with the state government what we think is kind of solving a new era of range anxiety with the rollout of the state's first border-to-border electric vehicle charging network. If anyone stayed last night at the Novotel, you would have seen our chargers out the front as well. And that's a partnership that we that we're really proud of with the South Australian government, and we'd like to give credit to successive governments in South Australia for their investment in renewables and that transition to electric vehicles. And I think it highlights that none of us can do it alone. So obviously, I think we're all aware that Australia is, lagging the world when it comes to EV sales, but we're now starting to see that demand for EVs really outstrip supply. So if anyone's been fortunate enough to order one, you're probably still waiting for it to be delivered, and having spoken to people recently, that wait can be up to 12 months. So in a way, that's a good news story. It's a good problem to have. And as we look towards the end of next year, forecasts suggest that we're going to have between 15,000 and 25,000 electric vehicles on the road. So, and as we look at that trend, we're actually already starting to see, albeit off a small base, that we're seeing actually sales are ahead of the trends that have been predicted. So we know that demand for EV charging infrastructure has to catch up, and it's only going to continue to grow. We are rolling out more than 500 charge points around the state at 140 odd locations across the state. Importantly, 75% of these charges are going to be in regional South Australia, and actually 98% of those are going to be within that really important 2 kilometre distance between each charger. Last month, we actually celebrated the completion of 50% of the network, and we've got 71 charging sites now installed and operational. It's made up of a mixture of the 7 kilowatt destination chargers, as well as 150 kilowatt rapid and the 200 kilowatt ultra rapid chargers. They're in car parks, motels, caravan parks. They're also on our highways and shopping centres and major tourist destinations, and we really think, I've seen people describe it as sort of democratising refuelling. So actually a really important part of what we think we can do is that main street activation and get people into regional communities and towns and actually out of their cars and hopefully buying great coffee. I know where most of the great coffee is, in the Upper Spencer Gulf, after all my time at BHP. So the next tranche of construction that is really going to open up the state and really unlock tourism and support that regional communities as well, and actually enable people to purchase with confidence electric vehicles as well in the community. So the network is really going to take us from, Mount Gambier in the southeast to the border village and as far as Marla. I did have to explain to my boss where Marla was. So we'll make sure we get him out there for the ribbon cutting ceremony. And of course, as with any project of this scale and complexity, a high degree of collaboration is vital, from the procurement and the site selections, the network connections, and we've really worked hand in glove with the state government, all of the RDA officers and SAPN to make sure that we can deliver that and all of the milestones in the contract that we've got with the government. On that point, we'd really like to say a huge thank you to all of the RDA officers for their role in helping deliver the project. Everything from initially assisting the government with identifying all of those sites and recruiting businesses back in 2021, and working with us to optimise the network during that delivery phase, because there's obviously been challenges. We're pioneering in this space, and certainly one of the challenges that I know many of us are dealing with, we've talked about the NBN piece as well and how important that digital connectivity is, but the investment in our electricity network is really vital, and in particular in regional areas where there's limited power supply, doubly so after the floods. It's a challenging period, and we really need to work together to solve some of those challenges. So once the network is delivered, and hopefully by sort of mid next year, 2024, it's really important that we ensure regions aren't left behind as we transition to that low carbon future. We really think that we're going to help open up the state in a new way and to be able to connect EV drivers to some of the most beautiful parts of South Australia. But also want to talk a little bit about enabling economic growth as well, and the future mobility piece for us as well. The next chapter for us is really around that transitioning to a low carbon future, and we know that obviously incredibly tough time when it comes to cost of living, pressures that we're seeing, and one of the rising power bills is one of the biggest issues that we see when we survey our members, and certainly don't want to be a captain obvious in that space. That cost of living is something that we're all feeling. So part of what we're doing is expanding our energy business. We've been installing solar and battery in people's homes in metro and regional areas, and we've actually now expanding that into commercial part of our business, and we completed our first turnkey commercial solar installation, which was a 100 megawatt solar system for Torresen Estate in the Adelaide Hills, a family owned wine bottling facility. So with these types of systems, we think that they're designed to generate around 30% of a facility's energy needs and significantly reduce their carbon footprint. So the company's estimating they can save around $19,000 a year on their energy bills. So we're really proud to be helping regional businesses grow sustainably. When it comes to advocacy and infrastructure, advocacy is actually a core part of our business. It's actually what RAA was built on. I think the insurance business likes to tell us that, they provide the funds for us to do our advocacy, and we have to explain to them actually advocacy is where we started and supporting our members, and they are able to sell insurance because of the great work that we do. And we really want to see South Australian grow. We want that strong population and economic growth, but it actually has to be done, obviously, in a really sustainable way and in a way that doesn't impact the unique livability that we've got. But it's actually, from an electorate point of view, can be quite a vexed issue. And we actually did a survey because we started talking much more boldly about our sort of ambitions for growth in the state. And when we surveyed our members, nearly 70% of our members were actually opposed to population growth. But when we dug into that, actually what they were concerned about was insufficient infrastructure. So growth has to add to the livability of our state, our vibrancy and our sustainability, and we've got to develop the infrastructure in parallel. It's absolutely critical, and we won't get support for population growth unless we have it. So of course, when we come to building new housing developments, we need to upgrade the road networks, the school, the health facilities, the public transport options, and it was great to hear about public and active transport being so critical, particularly when we heard about the expansion here in Gawler as well for the community. We only need to look at, again, those sort of fringe regional communities like Mount Barker, and I know that Andrew Stewart is here and we wanted to catch up and learn a bit more about what's happening there, because we get a lot of feedback from that community too. So we can see the livability challenges that are caused when you don't have enough or the right infrastructure in place and it doesn't keep pace, but also looking at things like on-demand transport and what a game changer that can be, particularly for regional communities. Connecting our cities and our regions is vital. I think a number of you would have taken the Northern Connector here today, and again, these major pieces of infrastructure are really critical for us to continue to support and acknowledge the investment that the state's making. But actually, again, as a mother of two young people, I've watched a lot of Bluey, and as Chili Healer says, boring things are important too. And that's kind of the bucket that road maintenance often falls into. People really underestimate how critical that is, both from a road safety point of view and for opening up the state. Whenever we spend time in the communities, we spent 3 or 4 days in the southeast a month or so ago. It's the number one issue that continues to be raised with us. So, it's hard to get, shoulder sealing on the front page of the paper, but it is absolutely vital, and signage. So we take a really evidence-based approach in our advocacy. We do incredible detailed technical assessments with Charles Mountain and the team. And then we want to be able to work with the RDAs and the local councils in your communities to be a strong voice for you in the areas where you really need that sort of investment and where we know that we can get the largest road safety benefit. I think, tragically, I think it bites more in regional areas, as even more so than in the metropolitan space, but the road toll is something that is heartbreaking this year, and we know that 2/3 of fatalities occur in regional areas, so it's absolutely critical that the road safety piece isn't lost through all of the investment that we're making. The road tolls already surpassed last year and did some months ago. So in wrapping up, I just want to sort of reiterate for us that and reflect on the topic of population and prosperity and making it happen. Want to sort of underscore how important it is to have that investment in hard infrastructure, those commercial investments that we're making, not just a do as I say, not as I do, but actually we're leaning into that space. We're investing in the network. We we think it's critical that we have these really strong collaborations and public-private partnerships, and that we support each other to do that. We take our advocacy role really serious in advocating on the things that matter for you, the hard and the soft infrastructure, if you like. We want to work with you. We want to amplify your voice, your priorities and data. So please come and talk to Sammy and I today. And hopefully you've already had great conversations with Charles and Matt in our team as well. I want to reflect on that social and environmental impact and the role that organisations like RAA as mutuals can make, that sense of belonging. And when you represent 805,000 people, we think that on issues, everything from reconciliation, and I liked that cultural intelligence piece, you know, sometimes as a member organisation we grapple with how much are we speaking for our members and how much are we speaking to our members, and we know that in some cases reconciliation and some of those issues, you know, we're trying to lead people and help educate in that space. It can be challenging, but we're really passionate about it. And the environmental impact being better for members and better for communities, and really supporting you with real infrastructure and opportunities to transition to that low carbon future, to make sure that the regional areas are as strong in that space and it's as easy for you as metro areas. We absolutely share the state's ambitions. We want to lean in, we want to play our role, we want to support that green transition, we want to be a partner of choice, and we hope that we can support you to get the talent that you need to attract to all of these beautiful areas around South Australia. Hope that's been somewhat useful and interesting. I've got plenty more alpha tips for you if you'd like to come and see me afterwards, as well as road safety. So thanks for the opportunity to speak.